I'll be like, Jackie, I'm not even gonna drink anymore.
Yeah.
I see Sean, and then I do the same old shit tonight.
Want me to get ready to the intro?
I think so. What do you think? Are we doing the Facebook yet? We ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready to run around? Let's get this party started right. Yay. Good evening and welcome to the Poetry of Justice Show with JackieRay Phillips here on YikesRadio.com. And here on the Poetry of Justice Show, this is where social consciousness meets the arts. And so what we do is we come up with topics that spark the interest and awareness of social diversity, ranging from arts, entertainment, and social justice at large, leaving our listeners thinking and saying, Yikes Radio. YikesRadio.com. And that is the sultry sounds of my mentor, the Mr. Kevin Nash. And hey, we had a Kevin Nash sighting here tonight, guys. So my mentor, we saw him just right here on the bully, right?
Yeah, we did.
Anyway, so I like to always give homage to Mr. Nash because of Yikes Radio being his brainchild as a part of Accelerated Radio, and that has created a platform for myself to be able to do the things that I love and like to do. So shout out to the Mr. Nash. And then I also want to take this time to give a shout out to our sponsorship. And I'm going to give a shout out to Miss Lori Ray Fisher with Gingy Productions and Entertainment Company. She is a benefactor of the show, of the Poetry of Justice show. And then I'm also going to give a shout out to WMPJ Steelworks and APS Muscle Cars. So we like to give homage there. And then of course I give all due respect to Miss Freda Ross, because she's here with me each and every Saturday.
How nice. Where else I'm gonna be, girl?
Hey, I appreciate you.
Do this.
And there with all true blue love, honor, and respect, I like to welcome my childhood friend, comrade, confidant. This guy's mind is amazing, very intelligent, never short for words, always thinking, always leading. And I've known him since I was about 12 years old. And he sparked my attention on the basketball court at Roosevelt Elementary School in the city of Compton. Ooh! Love my city, love my city. And then I saw him again, y'all. I was over my Uncle Big house, y'all, on Mayo Street, Compton, California. My Uncle Big meant a lot to me. That was my daddy's brother. And meant a lot to me, to our family. I love that Ray name. You guys see, I won't let it go, never, ever will I. And one day I'm over Uncle Big's house, and me, being me, go outside, and I sit on the porch. And lo and behold, guess who walks outside? That same cute boy that I saw on the basketball court.
Wow.
Mr. Sean Thompson. I was like, be still, my heart. Flutter, flutter, flutter. So I'm welcoming to the show the Mr. Sean Time Thompson.
Welcome.
Thank you for the invite. It's making me blush over here. I'm not, used to doing radio, so I'm a little bit shy right about now, but
Okay, come on,
I
baby.
get myself together after a while.
Absolutely, you
I
will.
appreciate you for all the wonderful compliments that you just gave me.
Yep.
I remember that Roosevelt moment.
Wasn't that was so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my
I
God,
go
but
way back.
I cannot even have you here unless we talk about, and I know you have a full family, because
Yeah.
God says to go forth and be fruitful and multiply.
Mhm.
But if we can, I would like to spend some time speaking about the two, I don't even know, you're gonna help me with this, the graduation from a prince to king.
Mhm.
But we have to give honor and homage to you, honor and homage to their mother, the
Oh, yeah.
village of your amazing twin boys, sons, men. please share with our listeners their accolades.
They just graduated from St. John's University with their bachelor's. They're in the accelerated master's program, so they'll be going or remaining in New York for another year to finish the master's program. I'm proud of them, two good kids, and as you said, you have to give
Right.
Hallelujah.
That's good
Without her,
stuff.
nothing could have been done, and I give all praises to that woman
Yes.
and to God. Of course.
Absolutely, but no, I appreciate that because but it's still that village, Sean.
Oh yeah, no doubt. They have great grandparents. About a month before graduation, the grandfather passed away, which was a mentor for me, and of course, definitely a mentor for my son. So it kind of hurt us, but they continued on and got the master's program. Their bachelor's. So
These are two amazing young men.
I
You
imagine.
see these, and they're so just handsome as all get out, right? When you see the photograph, well, I see you scrolling through, you're like, two beautiful black prince or kings, because I call them kings when I congratulate you.
yeah, that's funny.
Talk to me
You
about
can call them kings.
That's what I said, right, Freda?
Mm-hmm.
One's name is Solomon, and the other one is Samuel. So
See what I'm saying?
They're
Freda?
doing that. They're doing it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I do also have two daughters,
Yes.
Precious and Desire. They're doing well. They also went to college, and
Yes.
like I said, God is good. I've been blessed with good children, and coming from my background and my lifestyle, it's been challenging, but it's a blessing for me for sure.
Sean, we're going to get into a lot tonight. Our topic is bruised but not broken, but by the grace of God. We have 2 hours, y'all, so I don't have to feel like, So we're going to kick back and we're going to have some fun, Sean.
That's right.
Sean, I want you to tell me your opinion on what's going on with Compton right now, the city of Compton. Our city, shit, people.
Ooh.
Free Ross, I'm telling you, we go back 3rd grade. Dickinson, Davis, Compton. Sean went to Dominguez Free.
Okay.
So, what I'm trying to say is we all from the same get down.
Oh, yeah.
Dante too. So, I know you have to been seeing it on Facebook, or have you not, about the election with the runoff of the council seat between Zarita and Chambers. Have you seen that? What's your opinion?
Well, I'll just talk about Compton in general.
Okay.
I think that the way or the state of Compton right now, for me, it's not a good state. It's not where we should be.
Right.
This is 2019. We should have progressed way further than where we are today. You have bickering in the council chambers between the council members, the mayor. We don't have the stores and major markets in the community.
Mm-hmm.
You go downtown Compton, you still see the same old stores there. You don't see any major stores, and I think that's it's depressing to see that. I'm no longer living in Compton, but I try. I continue to go through Compton on a regular basis, and it's just not something good to see. Potholes, on
Size
our
of
streets,
swimming pools.
right?
Good God,
And I'm saying, what are we doing as a people to make a change in our community? That's one of the biggest things that I would say, that we as a people, as a community, should be standing up and saying that this is something that we should not allow.
Right.
And we have to hold our elected officials accountable, and that's one of the things that I don't think we're doing. I hear people talk about voting and voting rights, and those things are very well needed. But if we don't hold people accountable, we expect for them, once we put them in position to do the right thing. And if their platform was to make changes in our community, then those changes should be made.
Sean, do you remember, I know you remember, could you tell our listeners about the project that you were doing? Remember blood cells? And I want you to talk about that project, and please, and then we'll go from there. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Please.
Well, I run a business, peace prevention, education, and character enrichment. And what I was trying to do in the city of Compton was to bring people together, and we will be focusing on some of the issues that we have in Compton, which is the education, or a lack of education. I think at that time, the the graduation rates stated that it was 51% of our students graduating from high school, which is ridiculous when you think about it. If you're gonna say, I have 2 kids, and one kid would graduate and the other kid wouldn't graduate, I wouldn't have my kid in that system.
Right.
As I just stated earlier about the way the elected officials are running our city, that's one of the other areas that we were gonna address and try to help to make a change, because those are things that, like I said, are well needed, and we have yet to really get those things or to accomplish some of the things that we should have already accomplished by now.
Right,
And so those are some of the things that we're working on, and in terms of business, in terms of employment, things like that. That's what the Peace Project is about. It's about educating and prevention. Of course,
right.
We still have a gang problem in Compton and nationwide. I mean, think about it. The Crips and Bloods have been in existence for about 50 years, since between 69 and 71, when they say officially it started. It's 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me 5 generations have come through, our city, the state, and the country, and we have yet to find a resolution or problem? I mean, a way to resolve the problem? It's ridiculous,
What do you think some of those blockades are, Sean? It's just, if you had to, you know what I mean?
To keep it 100, it's us. It's our community. It's like I said, we can talk about the elected officials,
Yeah.
but I think it also stems from us not, challenging our kids and holding our own kids accountable
Okay.
for, being successful. I appreciate the accolades that you just gave me in terms of being a father and raising good kids and then going to college. That's good, but they should be standard. It shouldn't be
Right.
something where I can hold my chest up and say I did a good job. It should be something that we all
But you
do
know what,
as a
Sean,
whole.
I agree with you, but you being here tonight is gonna set that new standard, praise be. You see what I'm
Okay,
saying?
yeah.
We are gonna continue, this is the embarkment of it, and then you'll keep returning, and young black youth will see you, right? They'll
Right,
hear
no doubt.
you, and they're gonna be like, wow,
Right,
I can be him, I can be Mr. Thompson.
right. Well, like I said, I appreciate that. It's something, and when you were asking why we are where we are, that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't just be
Right.
a certain person or people. It should be all of us. It should be us as a people, men and women. We should be coming together and making and causing a change for our community. One of the other issues that we have is respect or lack of respect for one another.
Right.
And the biggest thing is love. We don't have that. But lack of respect. I can love you at the same time calling you a B-I-T-C-H. I don't really love you if I'm calling you that. I don't have value for you, and I mean on a regular basis. I don't mean by some slip up, accident, one time you
Right,
got me upset. I mean,
right.
if I look at you that way, right, so there's lack of respect, lack of love, lack of discipline. And to be honest with you, once again, I think it's our generation. Because if you think about the generations before us, our parents and grandparents, they fought for us to get to where we are
Yes.
today.
Yes,
And there's
yes,
no one carrying that torch, moving it forward. And, again, it's a small number of people as opposed to a people.
Yes.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
We had different groups. We had the Black Panthers, we had the Peace, Martin Luther King and these people whose sole purpose was to help us to move forward.
Yes.
Who would we identify in our generation as someone who has helped us to move forward on a large scale,
Right.
That's heavy.
But I think we're gonna create that
That's heavy.
individually with people like you, with people like us. You know what I'm saying? Paving a new way.
Right.
Just each one reach and teach, right, Freda? Sean, I mean.
Well, we
and
know
I
numbers
know.
are important, and the masses of people mean something.
Yeah.
So if it's 10 of us, that's wonderful. If it's 1,000 of us, it's great. If it's 10,000, 100,000, that's incredible. And that's where we need to be as a people, from California to New York, across the country. We have to learn how to come together and to stand up for what we feel is right, and not when it comes down, not when an incident occurred, you know, Rodney King, and all of a sudden now black folks want to come together. You know what I'm saying? And I
For
think,
about a year.
Yeah, for about a year. And I'm gonna say this, I think the Crips and Bloods would have really, because I was, you know, part of trying to help bring the Crips and Bloods together at this point in 92?
Okay.
And I think that if there was some support from major corporations in terms of employment, training, I think if the educational system had been a lot better, and law enforcement would have been more supportive as opposed to trying to separate, you know, us. And I'm not saying everybody in law enforcement, but I had gone to a meeting in LA that involved the Crips and Bloods and law enforcement and public officials. And the assumption was that the Crips and Bloods was coming together to go against law enforcement. This is what the media was trying to say, and this, of course, was not the reason why black folks were coming together. And to be more specific, the brothers and wives, the brothers and sisters and wives were actually coming together before the Rodney King verdict, and most people didn't know that. The assumption was right after the Rodney King verdict, you know, brothers and sisters was coming together. No, they had something else. Yeah, there you go.
And it wasn't
Exactly.
about that.
So brothers and sisters have been coming together and wives between the, you know, the brothers in the projects and trying to resolve some of the former issue. I mean, yeah, the issues that they had prior to, you know, the riots, and then that just, you know, helped or it escalated the situation. And you have people from Sacramento all the way to San Diego that wanted to participate, and of course across the country that was, you know, looking at trying to help make a change. And like I said, if we had more support coming from businesses, community members, leaders, and so forth, I think that would have strengthened what was already going on in the community at the time.
Absolutely, and that happens in other areas of our city, if you will. You see where, you know, I can give you a really good example, the Girl Scouts of Greater Los Angeles. Like, I searched for months trying to find a chapter for her, right? I ended up finding a lady out here, and God bless her, she was good too. She would be on Facebook too, but the people in other communities, they get behind things. They get behind, you know, ideas, and they do whatever they have to do to make that happen. They do whatever they have to do to keep stuff from happening in their community. So it is not impossible. It's not impossible, but everything that you say is just, it's absolutely wonderful, and that's the way that things should be, from one end of the coast to the other. However, something has happened, like, right, in these last 50 years, maybe even more, if I'm 52, maybe a little bit more, but our people's ethics level has changed. And it's been written and tested and found true that you cannot live above your ethics level. You can't think above your ethics level. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if
break that down one more level for me, please.
so our the ethics level. Ethics level, whatever your ethics are, whatever it is that
Your morals, your
Yeah. inside of you.
Compass,
Yeah, moral compass, all of that. And if you, and there's a myriad of reasons as to why the ethics level has been so depleted. But since it's that way, you know what I mean? It's impossible to get out. That's just like, I was taking her to go do the SATs today over at what was school? Was it Jordan? Yeah. And I can remember being a little girl and driving from my mom's liquor store and going through there, or just, you know, passing it up.
Right.
The Jordan Downs, Dixon Gardens, whatever. And they were bad then. They looked bad then. But what I seen today sickened me. And we're raising children in areas like this, and it's because the ethics level has been lessened. You know what I mean? And you can't live above your ethics if that's all you know, if that's all you've been taught. And that's what has happened, I believe, in the last 50 years for many, many different reasons. Drugs is one, I don't know, lack of employment, I don't know, imprisonment
What about
of our
that
men.
adverse childhood experience study
Yes.
that we talked about last week, Sean?
Plays into it as
Sean,
well.
last week we did a show on mental health. We did mental health, a new understanding. And we took a look at the newly appointed Surgeon General of the state of California, who's a black woman. I think I have her name here, Dr.
I can't never remember. And I went to a seminar.
Oh,
Well-
Dr. Nadine Burke, Sean, Dr.
Okay.
Nadine Burke. She talked on childhood trauma effects and health across a lifetime. And so what she talked about is what is called an adverse childhood experience study. And essentially, Sean, what it broke down to is that trauma, intense trauma, i.e. slavery, intense trauma changes the actual DNA of an individual and a human being. To state that essentially we have a legacy of trauma based on slavery in and of itself. And therefore that is what can deduce to this adverse childhood experience study. So to speak that it's inbred for us to be somewhat of a disadvantage due to the continuum and legacy
And
of
like, it's
pain.
not slavery today,
But
or
it's
it
just
wasn't
the
slavery.
effects.
Yeah,
Right,
but
that-
there's
right,
other
adverse
stuff, you got,
effects of it, right, because it's still embedded in us
And-
by the way in which, you know, if you start off in a race, 10, 15 feet behind, it's hard to catch up,
Right.
you know? And so this is where we are, we're still trying to play catch up, but I'm gonna go, touch bases on something that you said. We were talking about one of the reasons, some of the reasons, where this generation, the last 50 years or so, has been the way it is now. And I'm going to talk about the drugs and
Oh.
the crack cocaine that was brought into
it tore us
our,
up,
it did. it
Nothing
did.
like it.
Right. And-
ever.
Right.
It's
And I think
crazy.
when you think about the results from that, those that were impacted by way of having drug issues, drug problems, there are many people that was on cocaine or taking that drug, and it still affects them today. And of course, we know that transitions was passed down from that parent was taking the drugs into the system of the baby, which are many of the kids that we have to this day. And then, you know, that transitions were passed down to their kids as well. So you still have kids that were quote unquote crack babies, and I know it was a joke
They're
or a
adults
comment, but
today.
exactly, they're adults today, and they're having children, and those were our children. And that was one of the things, but then the bigger thing is, you know, you put something in our society that made us a false hope in terms of business, making us believe that we can take this money that was illegal and buy and purchase and live based upon this illegal money. And the system says, okay, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to make a couple of dollars. I'm gonna let you guys do it, because if you remember in the mid '80s, early '90s, I mean, it was brothers up and down the streets. You know, you can go down blocks and, you know, you hit a corner and campers out there. And I mean, I was one of them, keeping them 100. You know, and you
Me
know,
too.
right? You know what I'm saying, out there making $1, and it wasn't $1. It was some nice money.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, the government says, oh, wait a minute, we know we were allowing for these drugs to come into your community. Let's shut it down. You know what I'm saying? And so those of us that had that false hope, that idea that we can take that money, as short-lived as it was, and become billionaires off of it, you know, you come to find out, you know, hey,
They was
you
gonna shut
can't.
that
You know what
down.
I'm saying? You can't.
They put the stuff down here
Thinking
to,
about Ice Cube's word, laugh now, cry later.
Mhm.
You know, they give us guns and drugs and then wonder why the fuck we guns.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You brought it here to destroy it.
yeah.
Right.
And when they seen that, oh, they might find a way to figure themselves up out of this, mess that we trying to put them in.
And we
Then
were.
they wanna shut us down, you
We
know what
were,
I mean?
many of us was buying, you know, businesses, car washes, and you
And
know,
then what they do.
laundromats and storefronts, and all of a sudden, like I said, now it looks like, well, wait a minute, they're benefiting too much.
They call it
First
the
they were
ill-gotten
destroying,
gain.
right, it was good when we were destroying each other, it's like the heroin prior to the cocaine.
Right, the 70s.
Right, it was good,
Mickey
and it
Barnes.
was just, right, exactly, it was destroying us,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, it's like, well, wait a minute, you got some kingpins up there making money, and if you do something, if them cats do something,
And they
and
was
start-
running.
They gonna
to
change
it.
some shit. They
Hey,
go
hold
brotherhood,
up.
it's a
Yeah,
brotherhood
hold up,
now.
we can't do that, you know what I'm saying? So
Kinda
let's
like-
lock it down.
Yeah.
Right, so then it became something different, so again, with that false hope, that idea that we can actually make it from this short-term, short-lived illegal gain,
Yeah.
the government said, y'all can't do that. I'm saying that because those same individuals are you and I, in terms
Yes,
of, you know,
they
like
are.
you said, that was us.
Mhm.
And so now,
literally.
Right,
Yeah, seriously.
right. But it also turned to divide. So that same neighborhood, that same group that you grew up in, that area that was tight-knit right before the money came in, all of a sudden you got some cats on this side, the same neighborhoods, the same homies, the same people that you connect with. Now you got some on this side, they got a couple dollars, some on this side, they got, you know.
We got to cut that shit out.
And they are homies, they're friends, but now
They're
they're
enemies.
separated, yeah, or by way of who's making money, who's sharing the wealth in the hood. So now you gotta divide from our own, from within, from that inner circle.
But that's the only way that some people can have the control that they feel they are warranted, is to conquer and then divide.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And,
Right.
and that whole, unfortunately, we've become indoctrinated into that thought process, if you will, and we've just, you know, this is really good because it's into Bruised Not Broken. You know, we're bruised by their mess,
Right.
but we are not broken, because I'm a living, walking, breathing
Testimony.
example.
Could you
know?
give Sean your history, please?
Yeah, Compton,
Personal,
California.
and then personal, and then, personal,
Yeah.
professional, if you don't mind.
Day one, phase one, Dickinson, Benjamin O. Davis, Compton High.
Right.
My mom owned a liquor store in Compton on Wilmington and 134th, Rose Liquor Store, and, yeah, we grew up there. And about 16, I think it was, we moved to Cerritos, you know. But, thereafter, I guess at about 18 or 19 years old, that was back in that time when all that stuff came out. So I became a willing participant, you know what I'm saying? And you're talking about a girl who was like of reasonable intelligence, who could work, and you know, there was no reason for me to go that, well, there was, but no reason really for me to go that route, but I went that route, you know what I'm saying? Did all that I could for, but what I tell people all the time about that, like you were just saying, they let you get to a certain height, and then they're gonna tear you down. Nothing that I made living that kind of lifestyle, I don't have nothing to show for that today, but a bunch of posted bonds, some time in county jails, you know what I'm saying? You know, but, yeah, I left here, went to Colorado Springs, cause back then Colorado Springs didn't know nothing about, well, we were doing, like we was taking weight and selling it to Colorado, to people in Colorado Springs. Colorado
Right.
Springs, you know, they was small, right? And did what I did, went through what I had to go through, and like more oftentimes than not, became a user, you know? So, went through all of that, whatever, you know what I'm saying, came back to California in 2005, and in 2006, it was just time to change, you know what I mean? And so, from that day to this one, it's been really good, and now, I'm a clinical case manager, substance abuse treatment specialist, and that's what I do, that's what I live to do.
Right.
Help the bruised and try to teach them that they are not broken.
Right.
That does not have to be your destination. And it's okay for it to have been a part of your travels.
Right, part of the journey.
It's okay. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't testify if I don't have no test,
Absolutely,
right?
true.
But yeah, it's just messed up, and that this whole thing in Compton, I would be remiss if I did not ask, why do we continue to keep these people? Because it's been understood and it's been spoken that this has been going on for a long time. But it took them to get them on video or tape saying, to hell with Compton, to hell with, pretty much, you know what I'm saying, the people in it.
F-bomb.
No, we're not gonna fix the roads, no, we're not gonna do this, and like you're saying, you know, that sense of
And
community.
then they didn't even show up to the freaking council meeting.
No, they didn't.
Sean, did you see that?
No, I missed it.
They didn't even show up to they didn't even have a quorum, Sean.
Mm-mm.
At the city council meeting this past Tuesday, and the freaking election is this coming Tuesday, and you don't even give a
Yeah.
frack enough to show up? to
When I
make a-
seen that, I was devastated
Talk to
though,
me
because I
about that,
know
people.
her. I don't know if she remembers me or knows me, but I remember those people.
Well, see, the bigger thing again is why we allow for it to happen. See, if I'm gonna be
Because they're
abused and,
bruised.
huh?
Because we are a people that are bruised, and we take on the brokenness. You know, you can be bruised, but once you get broken,
Boom.
that's kind of hard to, you in a state of almost disrepair. You understand what I'm saying? We're bruised. The city of Compton is
I
bruised.
think Compton's broken, dog. Straight real. What you think, Sean? I wrote.
Well, you know what, I'm gonna tell you, when we get to that point, I got a different opinion on, both bruised and broken, but, you know, just again to make the points about, where we are as a people, as a whole, because it's just not Compton.
No, it's not.
Economics means a lot. You take someone who has a better economic status, they live different, they think different, they focus different. You take somebody who actually,
Ethics.
there you go.
Ethics
The
level.
more, the
Right.
ethics level.
And you
more
take
focus.
someone who have both parents in the home, coupled with economics, they think different, they focus different. And if you put me in a better society, I'll perform better. You take those same Compton kids that were at 51% graduation rate, and you move those same 51 that were unable to graduate over into the west side of LA and the Beverly Hills PV or wherever else, I can guarantee you that 51% that didn't graduate would have graduated because the system wouldn't have allowed for them to fail the way it does. Our system, whether it's education, whether it's the public governmental system, it's failing because we allow for we as a people
Yeah.
are allowed for it to fail. And if you don't mind me going back to the point that, well, a couple of points you made. One, talking about working and hustling at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I worked, I hustled, I gang banged, and I played football at the same time. So, you know, I know how that at 16. And part of why we was in the system when you were talking about you don't know why, or you know, kind of hard to think why you move from the work to the hustle. Well, if
I didn't
I
ever
could,
move, I did them both.
no, what I'm saying,
Yeah, I hear you.
yeah, what I'm saying is why you got into
Yeah.
to the other. Let me say it that way. I think when you say that I can get a check of $600 in 2 weeks, and I can make $600 in a day,
Yeah.
that's added to my income. So I'm gonna keep my workflow. But I'm damn sure not gonna forget the hustle. You see what I'm saying? Because the hustle was good and it's
Boom.
easy going. You know what I'm saying? And back then it wasn't the police hitting the corners on you. You know, every now and again they let you know they're around, especially in Compton. Keeping it 100, you know, they was about as corrupt as we was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about PD. So, you know, with that being said, you know, you hit a corner, you look, they look, you know, okay, you know what's going on. So you got it going, and all of a sudden, like I said, somewhere down the road, it was the government saying, "Hey, we need to shut this down," or you know, and it impacted the local government, the local policing agencies, Compton being one of them. You know what I'm saying? Also, talking about our generation, because I was making a point, leading up to the point of where we are today as the 50 years our generation. I'm saying part of why we think the way we think now is because when you were feeding me money or allowing me to get money, I began to individualize myself. It was no longer the little kids riding on a bicycle together and doing things together. It was about me, myself, and I got my paper, you get yours. And so now this is where we are today as a people, as a generation.
Yeah.
I got mine, this is
Me,
my
me,
daughter.
right,
Yeah,
right,
it's not, yeah,
right.
it's not like Mr. Ray, you know, your uncle was a mentor to me. It's my next door neighbor. I get outside, he be back on the truck, you know, I'm a hoodster, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He tell me yay and nay, right and wrong. I still traveled in my direction, but I had that mentor to tell me, son, you going in the wrong direction. You know what I'm saying? Or he'll sit down and, you know, get me to at least thinking halfway right. It's why I am where I am today, partly because of your uncle. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, the rest of folks on my street, the village. We don't have a village no more. We're not the village like, you know, our parents
village
were.
was.
So when we nut up on our kids and saying they're bad and they're out of line, they're your kids. They're out of line. Whose kids are they? They're our kids.
There we go.
You know what I'm saying? No snitch. You know, snitches get stitches. You know the policy, you know the rule. You take that to West Side, you take that to Beverly Hills and Palos Verdes, I guarantee you it's a bunch of snitches out there, but they got a nice community. You know what I'm saying? I'm not advocating because I'm a hustler, old hustler, but I'm just saying, you think about what I'm saying. They didn't allow for certain things to happen. You're not riding up and down Beverly Hills Boulevard and, selling your, like Long Beach Boulevard where you got young, beautiful girls who didn't have father figures and, they're out there and making the money because they don't have nobody to support them. You don't see it on Beverly Hills Boulevard.
No.
You sure don't see it up in PV,
No.
but you can see it up and down Compton,
Right.
Fig,
Long Beach
you know,
Boulevard.
Long
Remember
Beach-
that morning we did that?
Pomona and other places in the inner cities. But you
Yeah.
don't see it in the better places, let's just say, the paper places with money.
And you
So
know,
true.
just to, like, what you were saying, it goes back to the ethics level thing. You made the statement that, like, you could take that 50%, right?
Mhm.
And if you took them over here, you know what I'm saying?
They'll perform better.
They would perform better. That would depend, remember I told you, we cannot operate above our ethics level. If you take some of these 50% that's, didn't do it, somewhere along the line, they had somebody like Mr. Ray. You know what I'm saying? If you wasn't getting it from home, there was somebodies around that was taking an interest in you, and they were showing you and teaching you different ways to live and be. You know what I'm saying? My point is that, unfortunately, in these past couple generations, you know what I'm saying? We've ended up in households and in communities where we don't have those type people no more. When it's not good in the home, there's somebody or a couple of people down the street that's taking an interest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't get any good out of all bad.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate,
Right.
but you just can't. There has to be, and so more oftentimes than not, in our times now, there's just no good coming from, nothing good. You know what I'm saying? They're just seeing and participating in and being taught all bad. See, I had something to pull from. I had a praying grandmama, a couple of them a praying mama. I had a mother that worked hard, and she instilled that same type of work ethic in me. So when I made the conscious decision to go out there and be on the streets, I knew that there was a better way of living. I knew. See, some people don't know that. Some people haven't seen that. There are some people, I know a man today, I've been knowing him now for years. I hired him. To get him outside of like his grandmother, great-grandmother, grandmother, mother, entire family right now today, still in Watts. He gets uncomfortable if you try to take him too far beyond that environment.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's because his ethics level is there.
Okay.
And it's not that they can't be brought up. You understand what I'm saying? But they're not comfortable. They're uncomfortable. And things that are not comfortable to us, we resist.
Yeah.
You know? And that's unfortunate because it keeps a lot of people down. It keeps a lot of people down, you know, but again, back to what you said, we have to, as a community, those of us that made it out, those of us that know better, we have to try and reach out and instill something different. When they haven't seen something, we need to try and show it to them.
Right.
When you ask them a question and they look at you really, and you see the question floating on the top of their head, you didn't understand that, did you, son? You have to tell them.
Well, you, again, using your word in terms of ethics, if it's not in you, you can't teach it.
No, absolutely
So,
not.
right, so if you've lost that ability or that value, then you can't teach something you don't
You
have.
cannot.
Let me say this too, because I give accolades always to the generation before us and so forth, but I do have to say this, they still turn their back on wrong. Because when I was out there,
Oh, yeah.
when I was out there hustling,
Mm-mm.
you still could have said, hey, we can't have this. You might have said you're wrong for doing it, but it should have been a standard of it's not gonna be done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, period. You can't do it on the street, you can't do it around the corner, I know your mom and so forth.
Right.
So at some point, they shut down too.
They did.
And turned their back on us allowing for that to happen. So
They did.
even though, like I said, us doing it rather, so even though I give praises and accolades to the generations before us, I also say that they also did not stand up and say, shut it down. And we are where we are because, like I said, we totally don't say shut it down. you can't say nothing to my kids right now without me banging on you because you said not me
Right,
personally.
right,
You see
right.
what I'm saying? But you can't say nothing to me about my kids because now it's no longer a community. Before, your parents could say something to my kids and it was cool.
And you better not look wrong at
Right.
them.
You know,
Right,
your
right.
parents go up to a school and that's not, I mean, your neighbors or your friends or someone else that knew you go up there and you acting like that's your mama.
Yeah.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Let me
Yeah, you're
shut it
straight
down.
up.
Listen to
Yeah,
so-and-so.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's
yeah.
Mr. Ray. Let me get, put my head
Get
up and look
together.
like I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I got a crip rag in my pocket. I gotta stuff it. You know what I'm saying? I got a red rag in my pocket. I gotta stuff it.
True.
Now, kids look at you and they'll, look at the neighbor like,
Man.
F-U-B. Don't say nothing to me.
Man.
But that's again because not only are we allowing for it in this generation, but we're supporting that. If you get mad at the neighbor for correcting your son, you're just about as bad as your son.
That's right.
You letting it happen.
That's right.
Your kid go to jail for doing something wrong, and you up there free Ray.
Even
Your
if-
son in
look.
jail for something you allowed for him to happen. He was bringing dope in your house. He was banging. You knew it.
Even
as soon
if
as he
the
goes to
neighbor
jail,
wrong.
Mhm.
Even if they wrong, you better not say nothing.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? There
Right.
was just a
code,
standard. There
right.
was a level, if you will, of respect that had to be maintained.
Right.
True.
You knew better.
The same in the educational system.
Yeah.
You couldn't go against Mrs. Johnson and say Mrs. Johnson did something wrong, because if you went up there and said Mrs. Johnson failed you because she didn't like you, your mama's still gonna get you. You better start making Miss Johnson like you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You better go in there and buy some damn flowers Monday morning, because we ain't having it.
Cussing out the
Sweet
teacher.
tarts and some shit.
There you go.
Yeah.
But
Right, for real.
Right, but now, teachers say something to the kids.
They
The
gotta
kids
fight.
go home and tell mama,
It's
mama wanna sue the school,
They gotta fight.
the district, because when your child did, you did this to my kid, you said
Right.
this to my kid. What did your kid do to get to that point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm saying that the way we are in
Oh, yeah.
Compton and cities and states, all across this country, we are, because we've allowed for ourselves to get to that point. So somewhere down the road, even if it's not our generation, we have to put a new seed, a new mindset in the younger generation, so that they can change and become a different generation of people. Quick example, when Moses took the Israelites out of Egypt and they were in the desert, that whole generation, Moses and that whole generation did not see the promised land. They all died off, the Bible says. And so part of that is because they could not accept that change and move into a new generation, a new environment. You know what I'm saying? You were talking about the mindset. They were conditioned to, they were even saying, hey, let's just go back to, it's like, let's go back to the hood, because the hood is what, the hood is cool. I don't want to move to Beverly Hills, because Beverly Hills got too much nice stuff. I'm going to stay in the hood.
Sean, what do you think about in the Bible when King David was not able to see the new temple rebuilt? Can you draw a parallel? I kind of feel like, what do you think?
You said, you mean Solomon? Because David was, oh, you talking about David's
Solomon
father.
got,
David's father.
right.
Solomon
got to build the new temple.
Right, that's right.
His daddy didn't get to.
One thing sometimes.
Because remember God said he had too much blood on his hand?
Right, and, if you remember correctly, he messed around, Solomon's mother, came from an adulterous act, so I think.
Do you think that was more of a punishment?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you act the fool, the Bible says you reap what you sow. If you don't feel like here's the difference between that point that I just made in terms of reaping what you sow. You can change. And if God sees in your heart that you want to change and be a different person, in terms of that reaping what you sow, I think God says, you know what? That's not his heart. I'm judging the man's heart. He's a different person.
Absolutely.
So let me give him the opportunity to remain, or to change. But if I'm standing in that mud and I'm wallowing in the mud with the pigs, God is only going to treat me like, when I'm in that. Yeah, that's why I'm me where I am. And so I think part of David's thing, also David, just like Solomon, they couldn't give up them women. You know what I'm saying? That was their flaw. Especially
so
Solomon.
true.
He had 1,000 women. He had a wife, 700 concubines. I mean, God dang, how many women did you need? You know what I'm
We
saying?
were talking about that last night. There's something to talk about, but how many women? You know?
You got 1,000 women. And it wasn't the women that was his problem. The fact that he allowed for those guys that they worship to be, you know, around him was, he allowed for it to come into the kingdom. The Bible says that he was the wisest and richest man that had ever walked and will ever walk this earth.
Exactly.
And you that wise and that damn stupid at the same time? Come on now, God. You know what I'm saying? I named my son Solomon, so I respect the cat, but at the same time, dude, you let some stuff go on, and you should have shut it down. You know what I'm saying? You seen where your father was, and you didn't learn.
Could that be the flesh? We were talking last night about the flesh.
Yeah.
He was not able to control that flesh, that lust. You think that was?
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, I think when you allow to have 1,000 women and you cannot discipline yourself to say, I only need one. And then you forget 1,000. 2, the girl on the side. You know what I'm saying? Dude, you ain't got but you don't have but one. You know what I'm saying? And you can't discipline yourself and say, I don't need her. I got somebody at home that's good, that's doing good. Let me make this work. Let me put good. Yeah. That's doing good. You know what I'm saying? And instead of you sitting up trying to make what's good, you figure, you know, girl over there, she perform better. She's 5 minutes younger. You know what I'm saying? 5 years,
1,000.
You know what I'm saying? You know, I go over
banging all day.
And keep on, you know, pushing to go back home, forgetting that this woman has suffered your 2, 3, 4 kids. You know what I'm saying? You're going home and she's doing everything she can to keep you, you know what I'm saying, in your place. But what did you say? It's the flesh. That's how big, that was our problem in Genesis 3. It was the flesh. You know what I'm saying? That allowed for us to do that. My boy Adam, he didn't have to follow Eve. You know what I'm saying? He chose to follow Eve, and, you know, I think somewhere down the road, he's like, damn, she look good. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Let me eat that fruit too.
Right.
It didn't do nothing to her, she still look good. So it might make it look better.
Look, she ate that fruit and she doing some different kind of stuff, Lord. I'm gonna need to
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, you know what, I got a rib on this side, I can take, even it out, Lord. You know, let her, she done did what she did, Eve. I'm sorry, baby girl, but I don't need you no more. I got another rib. You can go, you know, he gonna die off. But he succumbed to the flesh as well. But so I guess again, the answer would be, I think the flesh has a lot to do with our decision making. Period. You know what I'm saying? It is. You know, so it's our disconnect from God, and that's what it is. We're following after our disconnect. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, you know, Genesis 3 was about. It wasn't about the tree. You know, we look at the tree as that's a symbol. You know, a tree of fruit. You eat the fruit and all of a sudden you're going to see something different. What damn fruit you ate this season? You know what I'm saying? It was a symbol. And all it was basically saying is, hey, I'm going to let you do whatever you want to do. This is you. You can do whatever you want to do. Remember, they're in the garden eating. Right, there you go. And the only thing what happened, this is the code, this is another thing. Since we got 2 hours, I got 5 minutes. Absolutely. All right. So, when the devil went to tempt both woman and man, he didn't start with Adam. He started with the woman, okay? And when he spoke to the woman, he went to talk to her about something that she didn't know about. Now, trip this. Genesis 2 says that God had spoken to man. The woman didn't exist physically at that time. She was within man. So when God was telling the man that you shouldn't eat, Genesis 3 says he goes to the woman and says, did God really say this? Like, I ain't checking you on you hearing it because I know you didn't hear it. Your dude told you this. You know what I'm saying? So she started thinking, wait a minute, I don't know if Adam really was right about that. Let me, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So this is what he did. He deceived woman by having her think whether or not that was true or not. And then she went ahead and went against her husband, or at that time, Adam. And then partook of the fruit, you know, she ate the fruit. So it wasn't something that she had heard firsthand. She heard it from her husband. So God manipulated her to go against her husband. Proven point, the Bible says through one man sin entered into the world, not 2, not Adam and Eve, Adam. So that proved that it wasn't her that really was a sinner. What did he say in Genesis 3? He says, I told you that you shouldn't eat. You not old girl.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? You could have got another rib, homie.
Wow.
I told you that you
First
shouldn't.
black man I've heard say this, because I
Right.
have had
Putting it on
many
the woman.
battle of
yeah.
discussions at church about
Right.
this.
Yeah.
But-
Particularly, oh my gosh.
But it's not it, and I'll talk
Preach.
about that talk about that in a minute. But it's not really the woman. It's me allowing myself to be moved by emotions.
Okay.
See, you put intellect over emotions, you don't make that mistake. But if I allow emotions to come into play, I'm gonna make a mistake every time. There has to be an
Samson.
even balance, huh?
Samson and Delilah.
No doubt. Samson and Delilah, and even prior to Delilah, he was married. Delilah was a second girl. That was just a bro. You know what I'm saying? He had a wife before then, and she did the same thing, trying to manipulate him. But Delilah was a cold. piece of work. You know what I'm saying, baby? Tell me where you get that strength from. You know what I'm saying? Oh, your locks look good. Where you got it from?
Right, you see that shit?
Manipulated
Got her money and bounce.
and bounced.
That was so
And
cool.
what sold him out was that connection, that emotions. Well, let me tell her what it is. Intellect would have said, baby,
Fuck this bitch, I ain't telling her shit.
I ain't telling you nothing right about it now. You know what I'm saying? I get me another one. You know what I'm saying? Just like Adam could have did. But again, flesh, emotions. He allowed for those emotions to get him caught up. And he, you know, of course, told her where his strength was. And what happened to the cat, he wound up, you know, they plucked his eyes out. They took his strength away from him. You know what I'm saying?
They fucked
Eventually
him
he
up.
goes and dies off or gets killed. You know? And I can't blame her. No, let me back up. I blame her because she was,
cold,
yeah,
though.
I blame her because she was, well, think about this.
Okay.
Now let me say this. She was threatened. See, we got to look at the whole story. She was threatened by the Philistines. The Philistines say, if you don't tell us, I'm gonna kill your folks. You know what I'm saying? My folks or this Negro I'm having sex with. You know what I'm saying? Samson, check
And
this
I'm
out,
gonna get a
homie.
little money,
Yeah,
right? And she gets some money.
because it really wasn't all the way about the paper. It was
No,
the threat.
her-
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna
Safety.
kill your mama and your daddy.
That changed the whole ball game.
It would change the whole ball
So
game
your whole
with
life.
me.
It
Shit,
showed
you tell
that
me
it
about
has
kids,
with
and
me.
I might be. I mean, I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah, right.
think about it. So, was she really cold, or was she doing what most of would have done if we were put in place in that position? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying she was right.
No, I hear you.
You know, she did right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that you have to think about somebody else's position and whether or not that position, you know, motivated her to make that decision that she shouldn't have made.
Sean,
That's
I'm
all
thinking
saying.
about the line in the film Training Day, you know, guys, I love my movies. When Denzel's character says, you did what you had to do.
Right.
You did what you sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. We all know that. We all from Compton, so shit, you gotta do.
You gotta do what you
You
gotta
gotta
do.
do what you gotta do.
Right. You know, sometimes you gotta, you know, they say we got two sides, you know, of us. You going into a business and you gonna, you know, snap up, hey guy, how you doing? I'm great job, wonderful. You go in the hood, what's up, homie? You gotta switch up. You gotta be able to change at the drop of a dime because, you know, like you said, in Compton you don't know. Yeah, you can be the nicest guy. You don't have to be the hardest
You
character,
gotta
but you gotta be
change.
able to make that transition. And so, yeah, I think, you know, in many cases, I think it's a benefit for us.
It's
Absolutely.
easy, I love it. Especially when you get to going.
Man.
Cause I love it when you're in your intellect, but when you get to going, I'm like, oh shit, here
Right.
comes
She
the Compton,
goes.
here we go, here
When
we
hers talking, everything's good. When she start talking, you guys a whole different thing
Yikes,
going on, right?
radio.
Yeah, you
Sean,
have to.
we were talking about emotions, right? And so when we talked about, this is Freda's topic, Bruised But Not Broken. She's been a massive asset to me here, Sean, on the Poetry of Justice Show. And so are you in future shows. And so Freda came up with the topic, Bruised But Not Broken. So I'm usually always hustling to come up with topics and stressing about it. So this was a blessing for her to do that. So we're blending Freda's brainchild of topic with me kind of trying to break it down, right? And so, Sean, we're going to talk about it from a standpoint of emotion, right? Personal relationships, which I know you're going to take the lead from, Sean, throughout the whole entire talk with us for the next hour, and spiritual standpoint. And so, when you heard Bruised But Not Broken, where did your mind go now, and where did it go then?
Well, last night I actually took some notes. You know, I always try to pray and ask God to give me the right words to say. And especially, you know, if I'm gonna come on a radio show or put this out, you know, anywhere, I wanna be able to say the right thing. Even if it's a conversation between you and I, we've had some.
Yes.
I wanna be able to give you an informed, and a spiritually informed information. Informed information, that's kind of what, same thing, but in, you know, knowledge, okay? Okay, so with that being said, I took some notes, I wrote it down, and again, I think I have a difference of opinion in that because it's a metaphor. So we have to break down the metaphor to understand what we're talking about. Okay, bruised and broken, and what are we bruised and broken from or to? You know what I'm saying? Right. Okay, so the first word, bruised, I looked it up, and to injure or hurt, or hurt slightly, to be wounded, slightly damaged.
You went to Webster.
I went to Google, baby. I got you. Been Webster been friends since Google been out. So, you know what I'm saying?
She hates Webster. She really
But I mean, right. Now, broken, you know, a person is having given up all hope. What's it? Feeling defeated, to be separated from or taken apart, not working properly,
Right.
not completely full or whole.
Right.
So now when I think about the word bruised, first off, bruised and broken, you have to think, you can bruise a bone, you know what I'm saying, but it's a fracture or
a sprain.
A sprain.
What
Something
about
like that.
contusion?
a
Yeah,
contusion. right?
absolutely.
Right.
Okay, so when you look at it that way, it's a little bit different. It's soft surface. Okay, just like the skin, when the skin is pinched or something like that, it's considered as a bruise, a monkey bite or whatever, hickey, whatever you want to call it, that's a bruise. Now, broken is something that has been separated from something else, okay, or unfixable. It's not fixed. So when I think about the word bruised, as it relates to a relationship, my opinion,
Right.
it's not a relationship that was deep. It wasn't a true deep love. Because for me, if it's a deep love, it's broke. You know, when you break up, it's a breakup. You're broken from that. And I'll give you my analogy. I mean, I'll give you some more.
I'm sorry, take me
more-
back, just a step, please.
Okay.
So you said in terms of a relationship, right?
Right.
You say bruised is,
So if it's a damage, if it's slightly damaged, as relates to me and you, let's say we're together, we separate, okay? And I'm not broken from that, and I'm only bruised from that. To me, that was more of an infatuation of
Gotcha.
you, and that's not really love.
I
You
got you.
understand? Because if I love you, I'm gonna be broken from that.
sure.
You know, especially if you're talking about true love. Okay, but,
Got it.
so if I slightly loved you, if I was infatuated or I had a love for you, and we broke up, I'm more, you know, like I said, that's more of a bruise to me. Now, as it relates to a breakup, that's a lot deeper. It's something that, you know, comes from inside the heart, the mind, you know, the spirit is broken. You know what I'm saying? And so that is something I would prefer to talk more about than the bruising of a relationship, because I think that's, like I said, that's superficial. It's nothing related to something that was not deep.
When you do that, like, I'm gonna beg the question of why is it though, right? And I think I'm gonna hit on that in the spiritual realm of it, right? When I do my portion, but I'm gonna ask you now, you know, bruised, right? Just surface, not much, right? But why is it that we as people, humans, seem to just bow down, give up, finish, complete at just being bruised? Yeah.
Because we were never deep in it anyway. If I'm not in,
No, I'm talking
You said
about a
bruised.
people that just give up on life from simply being bruised.
Is it like what you were talking about earlier?
You know,
but I don't think we give up being bruised. I think we give up being broken.
No, I know.
Go ahead.
But, okay, let me look at it from a case manager's perspective.
Mhm.
Maybe I can get you to see where I'm coming from. So I'm dealing with people who have, you know, substance abuse issues, mental health issues. They got a partner over here that's got the same thing going on, right? They got together in the midst of all that insanity. Didn't have nothing to do with love. It had to do with a lot of need.
Okay.
But when they have the disagreement or whatever, or they have to part ways for whatever reason,
Mhm.
that's a bruise. I'm looking at a bruise when I'm talking to that person. I get where you're coming from. A breakup and a bruise is different, but that's a breakup. That's a bruise. Why are we so inclined to just fall to pieces because of a bruise? I see it when it's a breakup now, but see, you're talking about a relation thing,
Relationship.
period. See, I'm talking. This is my
Well, let
thing
me
is
say
more.
let me say this to you.
Am I
We're talking
understanding?
about, yeah, but you're talking about somebody that's already broken to begin with.
There you go.
So that person
There you
has been
go.
broken long before, so
Systemic.
we're, right.
There you go.
Exactly. It could have something related to their parents,
So it could be
not
somebody
their father.
that didn't even see you as an interest, right?
Right.
But you just all tore up. The world is just ended for you because this
Bust
person
down.
did not
See, here's the funny
reciprocate.
part is many of us think that we're healed from our brokenness, and we're never healed. So if you're healed, what appears to be, if you're never healed, what appears to be a bruise, it's not a bruise. You never been healed in the first place.
You're never fixed.
You've never been, right, you've never
Right.
been fixed in the first place, so you remain broken. You understand?
Absolutely.
So now we have to question ourselves a question as to what are we broken from? You know what I'm saying? There are reasons that could, there are some things that could bring us to being broken, but ultimately, what are we broken from? So let me use this statement first, and then I'll tell you what we're broken from.
Okay.
The Bible says in 1 John 4:8, God is love. Okay, so let's use the equation sign. I don't care how you look at it. God is love, love is God. It's the same thing. So you put one on the other side, and it still means the same thing.
Okay.
So with that being said, that now it changes the whole idea of what love is. Now love is no longer a verb, it's actually a noun. And see, we've been using love in the way of our actions, and we've been considering it as a verb. So I love you, and what I do for you shows my love for you. Ultimately, that love is that spirit that's inside of you. The Holy Spirit that remains in you is love, because the Bible says God is love. You can't change that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? English language is limited. So we'll use certain words for, 19,000 different things. How the hell can I love you and cake at the same time? Y'all don't compare. You know what I'm saying? But I love you and I love chocolate cake, and y'all know I love chocolate
I
cake.
love chocolate.
You know what I'm
cake,
saying?
but
Right, but it's not, it doesn't mean the same thing.
Right.
So if we really look at the term and understand what love is, based upon a spiritual standpoint, it's the God that's within me.
Sure.
Okay, that energy. Love is not the agape love, it's not a receiving love, it's a giving
It's a
love.
gift.
Love
Right.
gives, it doesn't receive. You understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, that's energy flowing from me to you.
Yes.
I would appreciate it. I want it reciprocated.
Absolutely.
But I give you a clear example of what true agape love is. You take our children, they can be bad as hell. I don't like to use the term bad, but I'm using it for this point. They can be mischievous. They don't have to call us on our birthdays, Christmas, don't tell us Happy Mother or Father's Day, don't have to buy us no, Valentine day card or anything. Let them go to jail. We the first one sitting there, at the gate waiting for them to get out. You know what I'm saying? Let them get in trouble. We the first one trying to help them. Because that's unconditional love.
Yeah.
That's the agape love. That's love that comes from God.
Yeah.
You understand?
It's just,
Now we get a
it's
dude.
that funky love.
Right,
For real though,
There
the
you
street
go.
love, that's that funky love.
That's right, but when you get a dude, or you get you get a guy, get a girl, and she doesn't say Happy Father's Day, or she doesn't say Happy Birthday, or he doesn't, tell you, Happy Anniversary. We ready to shut it down.
Yeah, that's
You know
that
what I'm
bruise,
saying?
is that
I'm good.
bruising, Sean?
No, that's not even bruised either. What it is, well, because the person is still broken. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that's not true love. You understand what I'm saying? You gonna break it with me because I don't say Happy Valentine's Day.
that
Did
was
you
love.
really love me in the
Right,
first place?
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
Or is it a combination of other things that happened that brought you to that point? So you've been broken a long time ago, you just never noticed it, you never
Right.
accepted it, you know what I'm saying? So this is just that turning point, but what I guess what I'm saying is it's a different type of, that's what true love is.
Sure.
Being able to give without worrying about receiving it or not. You understand what I'm saying? I love you unconditionally, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make you happy, no matter what it is. I'm gonna find out, and this is the other problem that many of us men have. I'm gonna buy you some roses. You don't like roses, you like daisies. You know what I'm saying? You like
Right,
tulips, you know what I'm
right,
saying?
right, right.
But every day I
Lilies.
come home with them damn roses thinking I'm doing something. Well, she better like what I give her, and what she,
You mad.
do I really love you? If I'm doing something that I wanna do for you?
And that's
Or
what
is it
you
love?
like.
But true love is me finding out what it is you like.
Right.
And doing what it is that you like for me to
Make
do
you
for
happy.
you. You understand that? So I need, as a couple, I need to find out what it is you
What
like.
your
As a
needs are.
person that's in love with you, I need to find out what it is that you like to make you happy. Because that's supposed to make me happy seeing you
In
smile. Like
return.
it makes us happy when our kids are happy.
Absolutely.
You know, if my kids smile, you know, I feel like a little kid again
You
because
do.
of the smile.
Your heart is glad.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You know?
Christmas, you can't, you up all night waiting.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
You up before they are.
I can't wait for them to come out and tell that big gift.
Those are the days.
Right, you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Unconditional. Okay. So when we talk about broken, let's get to the point. When we talk about broken, what are we truly broken from? We're broken from our disconnect with God. We're not broken from our disconnect with that individual. Because when he's gone, when she's gone, we still have issues. That dude, he done met 2 or 3 women and he done
Absolutely.
went on and got married and got 3 kids, and you still broken. What you broken from? He was just something that caused your brokenness to happen. Something that made you distrust someone. And the Bible says that God is not an author of confusion. You understand what I'm saying? So we know that if you're broken from that connect with God. That's why you can't give that energy back to anyone else, because you don't have that. Not to say that you can't still hold some part of God, that God in you, because you don't disconnect from your kids. So you still have the ability to hold God in you. But when it comes down to what and he says he's not the author of fear either. So if you're gonna be, right,
Perfect love casts out
all fear, that's right. So if I have God in me, I can't be fearful to start over again.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of us are, y'all
Afraid,
women,
yeah.
y'all women.
Uh-oh,
Y'all women. No, dudes to guys too. But most of us are afraid to start over again because we're afraid to get hurt. And it comes from the disconnect with God. Because if I'm truly connected to God, as I said, I trust him. If I trust God 100%, I know that even if I fall again, he's gonna pick me back up.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? I can break up 1,000. I ain't never killed myself over no female. I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that if I break up with another woman, I can still get up from that fall and move on again.
Right.
If I trust God, if I'm not disconnected from God.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. I think when we talk about broken, we have to understand, like I said, what are we talking about when we're broken? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what Adam was. Adam was broken from that relationship with God.
Ah.
Sin is as simple as being or going against God's will for you. You're separated from God. That's what sin is, separation from God. Separation from his will for you, or his will in your life. So if I'm afraid, I'm separating myself from the trust that God will bring me through that last situation and move me into another situation that can be successful for me. So I should be able to break up with a woman and move on to another woman. And not fear, or a man, you know, if in your case. But I shouldn't be fearful of doing it. I shouldn't be afraid to do it. So that's what I feel more or less is being what broken is to me. It's not having that distrust and separation from my trust or my belief in God, and that he will move me forward.
I agree 100%. What do I say when we do the work? The work is designed to get you back connected to a God of your understanding. And once you have made that connection with your a conscious contact, then everything's better. You see clearer. You don't feel like you felt before. You do things different. You perceive things differently. You know what I'm saying? When you have that. connection.
Process things
It's the
differently.
process.
The entire brain works differently. Sean, what do you think about it with regard to emotions? You know what I'm saying? How the emotional piece come into play.
Well, as I said before, we're talking about emotions and intellect. You have to have a balance. So emotions is very important. Okay, the Bible said that Jesus wept. So emotions are good and they exist. He wouldn't allow for us to have tear ducts and cry when we're sad, or even cry for joy if they should not be a part of our life. The Bible also says that he made us in his image and his likeness. Not the physical, because God is not flesh. But in terms of our emotions, our intellect, and the ability to be able to control and to oversee, like he gave us the planet, the world to oversee. Emotions are important to have, you know what I'm saying, because it helps us to make a connection between us and God. God loves us, and we love God, and God is love.
Yes.
Okay, so that's emotions coupled with intellect. So you have to have a balance. You understand? I'm not gonna let you run over me and beat me and continue to beat me if I have intellect. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm not using intellect, meaning intelligence, and let's look at the word knowledge and wisdom. They're two different things. People put wisdom and knowledge together as if they mean the same thing. Knowledge is the ability to understand something. Wisdom is to be able to take what you understand and use it
Right.
for,
Move forward.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if we're not using wisdom, which is given by knowledge, then we've become fools. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to take a situation, like you said, emotions, use it, but also learn how to balance it out with what makes sense for us. Not being ran, not being used, not being manipulated, not being lied to. Your dude cheats on you 3, 4, 5, 15 different times, and you keep coming home. And the Bible talks about forgiveness, but he also says don't be a fool, you know? Now, Jesus says this, he says, hey, it's a question that's asked, posed to Jesus, like, when should you, break up, in terms of divorce, in other words. And he says that, hey, you know what? Moses gave that rule, the law to you nuts, because y'all want to break up with your girls all the time.
Be on your
See a
Solomon.
You see a new big booty walking down, y'all done
Fair
with this
enough.
one, gotta get another one. You know what I'm saying? And Jesus says that wasn't so from the beginning. However, he says that if your mate cheats on you, infidelity, then you're able to move forward and separate yourself from that situation. Sometimes we allow for ourselves to see things in this clear cut, and that person is doing you wrong, and you remain in that situation. It's not a good thing. Now, let me add to that too, because I think Paul kind of touches on it in terms of, let's say breakup. When Jesus is talking, let me clearly say this so it's not misunderstood. If he's beating you, you stay in a situation. It's not what Jesus is saying.
No.
He's
sir.
saying what he's talking about. When he's talking about this man, he's talking about a man that's following after God. You understand what I'm saying? So if I'm following after God and God's word for me, I ain't gonna do none of that to you in the first place. You see what I'm saying? But if I'm coming home beating on you, I ain't living a godly way. So you don't follow no fool. You don't stay in a relationship with somebody that's not living in a godly fashion. You understand? Submissive. And if I'm gonna manipulate y'all, I'll be saying, y'all supposed to follow after me. That's not what submissive means. Subservient and submissive are two different things. Subservient means you below or beneath me.
That's right.
To submit means you allowing yourself, or you giving me, like you submit an application, you giving me the ability to lead the relationship. But the Bible says that I'm supposed to be following what? The Most High. You understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, that's when Jesus is talking about a separation from a relationship, because once that person has committed adultery, which people don't understand in marriage in the first place, it ain't really, it's
Exactly.
not right. It's not really the wedding ceremony that justifies a marriage. It's not. Most people carnally believe that in the Western